Dream a little dream of me. Welcome kindreds, it's Jessica TheStoryWitch and I wanted to share with you my 5 favourite decks from 2020. These are not all necessarily decks that came out in 2020. In fact, I think only one of them was actually a new deck in 2020, but they are the ones that I've used the most and just had the most deep readings and help from this year. So it's a mixture of tarot and oracle. I think it's supposed to be separate, tarot and oracle, but this is how I'm doing it, so hopefully that's okay. One deck that is funny that I'm including in this because I have only pulled very few cards out of this deck, and yet somehow still it is making my top 5 decks. So that deck is this one. It is the Weaver's Oracle. Now, I have done a full flip through of this deck on my channel and you will have heard me talking about this a lot already, because even though, like I said, I've hardly encountered any of these cards out of this deck, the ones that I have used and have worked with has been so kind of healing for me. My Heron card, which is, I say it is, in theory was, because it was my card for 2020, but I'm still kind of not fully ready to let Heron go just yet, even though I have put her back into this deck. I've worked with her really, really deeply and have found so many kind of syncs and just so much help really from using that card. So I have tried to use this a little bit more. I have done it, like I said, a couple of tentative pulls for some other things using this just like as a kind of standard oracle. I don't see it working as well for that. I do find it kind of, the messages are very deep, but I am considering next year taking one maybe for each moon cycle and using it like that, and that is what I did with the Capricorn new moon that we've just had. So I've got my card, my Weaver for 2021 is this, the Jagged Shamanka, who I've got to be honest is terrifying for me, hopefully in a good way. And my card for the Capricorn moon cycle is this, which is card 2 Stone, the Mother of Time. You know, it couldn't be a more Capricorn card really if you tried. So those are my 2 weavers that I'm working with at the moment. But yeah, that deck, even though it does come with like a guidebook as well, which has got quite comprehensive information in it as well. It's by Carolyn Hillyer, who is like an artist and musician based in England, and it's well worth checking out her stuff. She started writing some off in some really good books now as well on I think it's called The Book of the Hag, which looks really, really interesting, and I am very tempted to get that too. So I'll link her website down below. It is an indie deck and it is an expensive deck, so especially if you're not in the UK, because postage and customs and things like that is a lot. But if you have got the opportunity to pick it up, then I think it's amazing. So I'm going to pop that down. The next deck that I'm going to share is mass market and very cheap. And I actually had this gifted to me, well, not gifted, like I reviewed it. And it is the illustrated Crystallary. I should have pulled the book out as well, because the book is kind of the main thing with this deck, but I'll show you some of the cards. So this is by Maia and the illustrations are by Kate O'Hara. They're the same team who have worked on the illustrated Herbiary and the illustrated, what's the one with the animals? Bestiary, that's the word I'm looking for. And this is the crystal deck that I was waiting for, I think, because I found it really, really helpful without even using the crystals, just the kind of messages in here. It's a really lovely one to just use for a daily draw perhaps, or if you feel like you need, like when you just get that vague feeling that there's something not quite right but you can't quite put your finger on what it is, then I find that this deck and the book, let me grab the book actually just to show, you've probably seen it already. Oh, typically now I can't immediately see it. I can see all the others. I'll show you this one then. I've probably got it out, I expect to use it somewhere else. So these are the best three. The book for the Crystallary is basically the same, except it's got, I did do a flip through of this as well, so I'll try and remember to link it down below. So the messages in the book and like the kind of exercises that she gives to work with that crystal energy that you've pulled have really helped me. Especially I find I can use them then as like maybe tarot prompts and things like that to kind of go a little bit deeper into what that issue actually is. So yeah, that's the illustrated Crystallary, and that is deck number 2. Deck number 3, now this is a tarot deck which I was sent by the lovely Ashley Michelle 2+ years ago now. And so yeah, this is not a new deck. This is the Green Witch Tarot, and it's by Moura, whose books I really, really love, and I really love this deck. It's really kind of like a bit twee. And I did a walkthrough of this, I believe, as well, which I'll try and remember to link down below when I first got it, kind of first impressions kind of thing. But even though some of the pictures do look a little bit kind of cheesy, I get great readings with this deck, really, really good. And all of them have little hidden things to follow up in there. Like they all have animals in them. They all have herbs in them as well, plants in them, which can give you like an extra place to go with whatever it is that you're asking about. So yeah, this deck I've never had a bad reading with this deck. It's always, whatever the reading is about, I find that this is really, really good. I often use it for reading around kind of like family type things, or I use it for everything, to be honest. It's just a really solid, good deck. I kind of find it vaguely Christmassy, so I do tend to use it more around the winter time, I think just because of the backs. But yeah, it's a really good deck, and it is one that I use to do my Wheel of the Year, which is a separate video, which I'll try and remember to link that down below as well. So 2 decks left. One of them is the other one that I use to do my Wheel of the Year, and that is the Light Seers, which I believe came out in 2019, but I think I got it in 2020. I'm gonna have a little look to see when it says, oh gosh, see when it says it came out. Yeah, 2019. I didn't get it straight away because I thought it looked, and this just shows what hubris that was, is I thought it looked a little bit too trendy and kind of right on. As if it was like trying too hard to be diverse, which it is, and kind of modern, which it is, and it's got a lot of people, which I don't usually love, although the Green Witch that I showed you also has a lot of people, and I also love that deck. So yeah, I didn't get this first of all, and then when I did get it, I used it all the time, most days for the whole of 2020, because the readings that I was getting with it were just spot on, really, really good. And it's so straightforward, and you can kind of intuit so, well, I find I intuit so easily from the pictures. You might be able to see in lots of them, they have, let me see if I can find one that's got a good example. There's like almost like sacred, well, not almost, it is like sacred geometry in the cards. And it's almost like there's extra messages hidden in there, which I think there might be, which can kind of reach out to you and speak to you. This one has got it. See here? It's not really showing very well with the light and the camera and everything, but yeah, it's really surprised me, really surprised me, and I wouldn't be without it now. If I had to choose, like, God forbid, 10 decks, this would be in my top 10 decks, because I just use it so much and find it really, really good. So yeah, I haven't done a walkthrough of this deck, I think because I was a little bit embarrassed because I was so snooty about it beforehand. So But lots of people have done really good walkthroughs of it. If you go over to Kelly Truth's story, I think she did a really good one of it. So yeah, there we go. And my fifth deck that I loved in 2020 is a deck that I have loved every year since I bought it, which I don't know how long ago it was now. And that is the Ostara Tarot. You'll probably be able to see that it's kind of shiny. It's gilded, which has, I've used this deck a lot, and I don't know if it'll show this up, but the gilding does take a bit of a bashing just because, you know, when you're shuffling it a lot, then it does get whacked around a little bit. I don't think that is a defect of this particular deck. I think that is just something that happens with all decks that have got gilding. So it doesn't draw back to me. The cardstock, I don't love the cardstock either. It's a bit too thick and it's a bit too shiny, but somehow the imagery of this deck, which is also really weird because it's 4 different artists. I think I have done a walkthrough. I have actually. I did quite a long in-depth review of this deck, so I'll try and link that one down below as well. 4 different artists collaborated on this deck, which makes the artwork a bit incoherent. You know, there's 4 very different styles. They all did a suit each, and then they all did some of the majors each. But somehow it just works, and I find it excellent for like ancestral talking, for families, ancestors of place and land, and somehow this deck just, for me, just clicks in all the right places for those kinds of readings. And so I keep coming back to it time and time again, and I try and kind of rotate it. Now you can probably see behind me my tarot shelves. I redid how I keep all my decks, and I keep kind of trying to put this one a little bit further up and moving ones down that I want to use that I don't use as much, like new ones that I got, like the Marigold Tarot, Santa Martin, things like that. And yet I just swap it back around and I take this one back down because I want to use it. So yeah, it's just one that I keep reaching for, even though, like I said, why I couldn't really put my finger on. It's just, I think just the layers of symbolism in the images just speaks to me really, really clearly. So yeah, I really, really love that deck. It does come with a book and a box and everything, which you can see I'll link the walkthrough, like I said, so you can see all the rest of the stuff. Because of the way I'm storing my decks at the moment, they're just loose like this. So I didn't want to have to rummage through and get all those other things out for this short video. So I hope that was fun. Let me know what your favourite decks were. If you were doing, I know like 31 Days of Tarot isn't really a thing this year, I don't think, because Ethne's not doing it, but lots of people are still doing it, which is really cool. So I've seen it like popping up in my feed. Lots of the people I follow and subscribe to are doing it. So yeah, let me know if you've made a video or what your favourite decks were, if you weren't doing a video, all that kind of thing down below. Thank you so much for watching. Warmest blessings, and I will see you very soon.